सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। The states of consciousness, the path of reality. The chapter, the topic, the path of reality. He said there are these three states that we experience: the waking, the dream, and the deep sleep. And going through these three states, there is the fourth state, which is the real nature, and which is beyond the understanding of the intellect, for which the pramanam is the Shastra. Vedanta is the pramanam to say there is the fourth state, and that fourth state is your true nature, and you have to work to get there. And in that there are grades: Salokyam, Samipyam, Saropyam, Sayujyam, all that. Having discussed that, what is the path? What is the path? The topic, the path of reality. The path of reality, meaning the path to reality. I'll read the text and then we'll see the discussion. Topic, the chapters, the states of consciousness. Topic, path of reality. Vedanta leads you to your original state of being, the fourth state of God consciousness, the state of the absolute reality. You attain that state by exhausting your desires, vasanas. As long as you possess vasanas, you are caught up in the limited worlds of the waking, dream, and deep sleep. With the eradication of vasanas, you regain God consciousness. A human minus vasanas equals God. Vasanas manifest as desires and tarnish your personality. Your Godhead, the Supreme Self within, is encrusted with the impurity of desires. In truth, you have not lost your divinity. You can never lose it. The divinity only remains covered by impurity, like a brass pot is tarnished when exposed to the outer atmosphere. A pot remains bright, brilliant if preserved and polished. The difference between a saint and a sinner is the difference between the bright and the tarnished pots. The surface of the tarnished pot is oxidized, which is the coating of impurity. It turns dark, black. The impurity, however, can be removed. The pot needs polishing. Apply any polishing material like brasso. Rub it all over the surface until the impurity is removed. Wipe it clean. Finish it with the polishing cloth. The pot regains its original luster. Luster is its inherent nature, not something obtained from elsewhere. The brasso has only removed the impurity. Similarly, the divinity is obscured in people by their vasanas, desires. Vedanta provides the brasso technique, removes the incrustation of desires. The technique comprises the three main disciplines of karma, bhakti, and jnana yogas, the paths of action, devotion, and knowledge. Apply this technique regularly until the desires drop off. When the desires are reduced considerably, you develop mental concentration. With the growth of concentration, you could practice meditation. And through sustained meditation, the last trace of vasana, the desire for self-realization, vanishes. What remains is yourself. The self unfolds itself. You become the self. attain spiritual enlightenment. The above three disciplines are seen reflected in William Wordsworth's famous poem, The Daffodils. I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high over vales and hills, when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way, they stretched in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The waves beside them danced, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. A poet could not but be gay in such a jocund company. I gazed and gazed, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. Far off, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or in pensive mood, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. William Wordsworth. The first line of the poem suggests Karma Yoga, the spiritual path of action. It is selfless action performed in a spirit of detachment. The word wandered signifies a sense of detachment. A wanderer moves about with no particular place or person to return to, and lonely confirms that he is not attached to anybody. He relates to the world with the true spirit of renunciation, while the comparison to a cloud reveals his dedication to service and sacrifice. A cloud symbolizes the extremity of service and sacrifice. The cloud gives rain, produces prosperity. The extremity of service is not just giving all that one possesses, but giving oneself away. That is what a cloud does. In providing rain, a cloud gives all that it has and gives itself away. That is the caliber of service rendered by one who practices Karma Yoga. A person who does selfless service to the community rises above the influence of the pairs of opposites he encounters. He remains peaceful and happy, unaffected by fortune or misfortune, joy or sorrow, honor or dishonor, and the continuous fluctuations in the external world. This idea is well portrayed in the second line, that floats on high over vales and hills. A feeling of ecstasy comes to him as a result of his selfless, dedicated service. The result is not sought after. The experience of jubilance, the flood of all embracing love, takes him unawares at the sight of the golden daffodils. This is highlighted by placing a comma after the word host. The pause indicates that unexpected experience. The subsequent lines describe that exuberance, his intoxication of pure love for nature. He remains enraptured by the objects and beings of the world. That universal feeling of oneness specifies the path of devotion bhakti. Karma, selfless action, and bhakti, devotion, purifies the mind. When the mind is pure, the intellect is poised to reflect and contemplate upon the higher truths of life. Hence, he gazed and gazed. With that, the poet deftly introduces the third discipline of Jnana Yoga, the path of knowledge. The ultimate practice of meditation, culminating in spiritual enlightenment, is evidenced in the last stanza. In meditation, the mind is vacant of worldly thoughts while it is pensive in deep thought of reality. That practice opens up the inward eye, gives the insight of the Supreme Self within, referred to in the Shastra, scripture, as the opening of the Jnana Chakshudaya of wisdom. He becomes one with the all, dances with the daffodils. The individual merges with the all pervading reality. This is the path of reality. The path indicates that a destination, you have to reach somewhere. The path of reality says it is not a destination, you are that already. But still, for linguistic purposes, we have to call it as a path. So, what is it that covers it? The vasanas. What is it that covers your true nature? That which covers your true nature is known as vasanas. The vasanas manifesting as desires tarnish your personality. The path to reality is remove that tarnish. So what is the tarnish? The example that he gives is the Brasso technique. Vedanta is the Brasso technique, he says. The divinity is obscured by vasanas. Remove the encrustation of desires. Vedantic knowledge does it. How does Vedantic knowledge does it? By giving the three disciplines of karma, bhakti, and jnana yogas, it removes. Till you get to that state, the tendency is to get tarnished again and again and again. And you have to keep polishing. The brass pot needs polishing. The gold doesn't need polishing because it doesn't get tarnished. The gold doesn't need polishing. It is the brass pot that needs to be polished. Every day it has to be polished to maintain the shine. So the tendency is to get dirty. You clean it, and then you get exposed to the world. After cleaning, you get exposed to the world. You get tarnished. Again you clean yourself. You get exposed to the world. Again you will get tarnished. Come back, clean. This process will go on for a while. By the practice of karma yoga and bhakti yoga, this tarnishing keeps the purity becomes more and more and more. And finally, the jnana yoga educates you on who you are. Karma yoga and bhakti yoga. Karma yoga removes the desires. Karma and bhakti purifies the mind. Karma and bhakti purifies the mind. Jnanam reveals who you are. Jnanam reveals who you are, what you are. These three is symbolically set in the poem The Daffodils. I'll come to the poem Daffodils later. First, the idea. Lustre is the inherent nature. By wrong exposure, it gets covered. Again, we repeat. Lustre is the original nature. By wrong exposure, it gets oxidized. It gets covered. And the right exposure is karma, bhakti, jnana yoga. The right exposure is the karma, bhakti, jnana yoga, by which you regain the lustre. A pot remains bright and brilliant if preserved. If not preserved well, it gets tarnished. Now, what does the layperson do? They freely move around in the world, thinking that they freely move around. Everybody you see, they just freely move around in the world of objects and beings. They freely move around. In that unguided movement, when I say free movement means unguided, ignorant movement. That is implied there. You need not say that. People move about in the world unguided. Because of this movement in the world, they get one gets tarnished. As long as the vasanas are there, you cannot not meet the world also. For the vasanas will push you into the world. The world will attract you. Your vasanas will push you. The push and the pull. The push and the pull. In this push and the pull, the tarnishing keeps happening again and again and again, and continuously it has to be cleansed. A period of time comes where no more of cleaning is required. You get established in the yogas, the spiritual yogas. When you are established in the spiritual yogas, when you are established in the knowledge, which is the spiritual yogas, you are ready for meditation, and meditation is the last gateway to self-realization. So, what is the method now? The path of reality, karma, bhakti, jnana yogas. And what is the yardstick to know that you are practicing karma, bhakti, jnana yogas rightly? The proof that you are on the right track, the touchstone, the proof that you are practicing the yogas rightly is renunciation. You practice the 4 yogas rightly, you develop a mental attitude of vairagya, renunciation. That renunciation, in that state of renunciation, you become meditative. And then you become self-realized person. So the next 3 lessons, the 4 yogas, renunciation, meditation, man of perfection, a man of self-realization. With this, part B ends. So he said, the 4th state is your original nature. What is the path to get there? The 4 yogas. And how do you know that you are doing the 4 yogas properly, rightly? You can't say, you can't give a pass certificate for yourself, no. You can't say I am doing rightly by you. You can't certify yourself. How do you know that the yogas are being done properly? Renunciation happens. Renunciation. So it is a sense of renunciation that ensures that you are practicing the yogas rightly. In that state of detachment, you become meditative, and by meditation, you attain self-realization. The yogas now. The three yogas, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, and jnana yoga. What is karma yoga? Karma yoga is action driven with the attitude of service and sacrifice. That is karma yoga. So karma itself means action. So karma yoga means the yoga of action. What is the yoga of action implies? Action determined by the service and sacrifice. The caliber of the service rendered determines the intensity of karma yoga. The caliber. A person who does this karma yoga selflessly rises above the affectations of the world. When he has risen above the affectations of the world, a result that is not sought after and thus dedicated actions, a unexpected experience happens. the flood of all embracing love happens. That is Bhakti Yoga. This selfless action and devotion combined purifies the mind. When the mind is purified, the intellect would be able to focus on reflecting on the higher. Now the intellect has no time to reflect or focus on the higher, because it is all the time trying to manage the mind only. Where is the time for it to reflect? Where is the time for it to reflect and understand the higher? For all the time it is dealing with managing the mind. And managing the mind itself, people think that it is such a great thing they are doing, not realizing that it is not about managing the mind. The function of the intellect is to reflect on the truths of the Shastras. What is the truths of the Shastras? What is the truth of the Shastras? It is temporary. The Sat, the Asat, the Jiva, the Mahavakyas, all these are Jnana Yoga. Intellect is continuously able to reflect on them. When the intellect is able to continuously reflect on these ideas, you are practicing Jnana Yoga. Are you able to follow? So, first thing is Karma Yoga. What is Karma Yoga? He describes. Now, we'll connect it to the poem and see the definitions. The poem says, the daffodils. Are you okay till now? Now we will connect it with the poem. The first line of the poem suggests Karma Yoga. I wandered lonely as a cloud. Wandering, lonely, cloud. 3 words indicating Karma Yoga. It's poetry. So we just in a poetry you need to capture the key words and understand it. So what is that word? Wandering, lonely, cloud. Wandering implies a sense of detachment. Lonely implies idella karma yoga. These are all the definitions of a karma yogi. Lonely represents, most of us may not fit into the category, but still it is okay. Lonely means with no particular person or place to return to. Wanderer, lonely. Wanderer means it doesn't have a particular place or person to return to. We all have a particular place and we all have a particular persons. We keep coming back again and again and again. So that is called attachment. That is called attachment. So wanderer implies detachment. Lonely confirms that he is not attached to anybody. Because of him wandering, he is not attached to anything in particular. The third thing, the cloud. Cloud represents sacrifice, the actual act of sacrifice. In the act of giving, it gives itself away. In the act of giving, the giver itself, the giver is gone. That is Karma Yoga. In the act of giving, who goes away? Who gets dissolved? Who gets disappeared? The giver. The giver has to disappear. Then only it is Karma Yoga. You give and give and give, and the giver is becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. No, it is not Karma Yoga. So cloud indicates what? Cloud indicates that the giver is gone. In the act of giving, it gives itself away. So what is Karma Yoga now? What is Karma Yoga now? The giver gets dissolved in the act of giving to everybody, not somebody in particular. We are all giving. It's not that we all don't give. We all give, but we are very selective and we choose. We are very selective and we choose. Not only we are very selective and we choose, we give from right pocket to left pocket. That is what our giving is. From this pocket we take and we put it in this pocket. One of he came only for that class, and after that, he came for 2 sessions. After that, he stopped coming. Because I told him it doesn't work like that. Why are you torturing me? I'm not going to give a certificate. He got so angry and he stopped coming. In the Thursday evening Gita class where we used to have, in the Thursday evening Gita class where we used to have, one man came. After the first class, he said, I want to meet you. It is very, very important, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, come before the class. So I went a bit early. So that man came before the class. So he said, sir, I want to tell you briefly about me. For you won't know who I am. The moment anybody starts this talk, knowledge switch off. It's not worth listening to after that. Enna patti ungalku theriyadu, sir. You don't know about me. You don't know about my virtues and how great I am. You don't know about me. Therefore, I'm giving you some data. So that is the fellow. I said, okay. I said, okay, listening. I am a sannyasi. I said, very good. Because I am not a sannyasi yet, I said. You are a sannyasi, very good, but I am not a sannyasi yet. I earned this much. I did this much. And I have only one suitcase as my possession now. I said, okay. Now, he wanted me to ask what he did with all his wealth. I'm not going to ask. Why will I ask? Because I knew exactly what, even before he said, I could guess what he did. I am a sannyasi. Gave away. I said, oh, very good. I said, extremely. Very great. Very good. What I did to my wealth is, I said, it doesn't really matter, because after giving up, why do you have to? See, after giving, why do you have to keep the accounts of what you gave? Yeah, lesser IT purposes, no, that is different. After giving, why do you keep the accounts of what you gave? I didn't say anything. I said, oh, all my wealth, I gave it to my 2 sons. All my wealth, I gave it to my 2 sons, and I have become a sannyasi now. Only one suitcase. I said, only to your 2 sons? Yes, because he gave some huge number. Some huge number he gave. I said, only to your two sons? Yes, only to my two sons. I said, that is not giving, because it is taking from left pocket and putting it into your right pocket. Where is the giving in that? What is the giving in that? And and you also want me to agree that you are a sannyasi. He was so angry, so angry. You know, I don't know who was there. Somebody from the class remembers that. Somebody sitting here, I don't know. That fellow got so angry, so angry. And correct, yeah. Yeah, Manogaran is there. Correct. He got so angry, he left. A lady, she came and asked me, sir, he left. I said, yeah, don't worry. He will not come back. He will not come back again. So what is giving? You don't give from one pocket to the, you don't take from one pocket and put it in the other pocket and say, I gave. What is giving? In giving, the giver must die. Then it is karma yoga. In giving, not physically, not literally, yeah. Not physically, not literally, like the cloud. That's what he says. Like the cloud. You give. In that act of giving, you cease to exist. In providing rain, a cloud gives all that it has, and in the process gives itself away. This is Karma Yoga. So the three words, wandered, lonely, cloud, indicates Karma Yoga. So what happens? And a person is practicing Karma Yoga, floats on high over vales and hills. The Daffodils poem, the sentence that floats on over high over vales and hills. It means what? He is at a higher level of existence. He is at a higher level of existence. What is that higher level of existence? The experience of jubilance, the flood of all embracing love. And it comes at a time which is, it is an unexpected thing. Karma Yogi is not working for that. Karma Yogi is not working to experience that. Yeah, he is not working to experience it. It happens. The universal feeling of oneness arises. That is bhakti. What is bhakti yoga? The universal feeling of oneness. So karma, where there is oneness, you can do more karma. More karma you do, you develop oneness. This is how karma yoga and bhakti yoga combined purifies the mind. Distinct and different from karma yoga and bhakti yoga is jnana yoga. Distinct and different from karma yoga and bhakti yoga is jnana yoga. Jnana yoga reveals your true nature. Jnana yoga reveals your true self. Your true nature is revealed to yourself. That is Jnana yoga. The ultimate practice of meditation is the last sentence. In vacant or in pensive mood. In vacant or in pensive mood. Vacant of the worldly thoughts and pensive about the divine. Vacant of the worldly thoughts and pensive about the divine. Symbolically, self-realization is described as the opening of the third eye. There is no third eye physically, literally like that and all. It is symbolic. Jnana Chakshu, the eye of wisdom. That state of self-realization is described as dances with the daffodils. This is the path of reality. The Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, and the Jnana Yoga leading to meditation and self-realization is the path of reality. With this, we finish the topic, the path of reality, the states of consciousness. We move on to the chapter 12.